Hi, I am Sam Yogi. Today is September 7th, 2025. Welcome back to the Krishnamurti podcast. This is episode 43. In today's episode, Krishnamurti answers a question about whether he could be seen as a kind of spiritual communist. K's response cuts through labels and ideologies. Instead of focusing on politics or possessions, he points to something deeper, our sense of inner incompleteness. K explains that when we are whole within ourselves, problems like possessions, security, or systems lose their exaggerated importance. What matters most, he says, is being a complete human being, free, flexible, and beyond the need for any party or ideology. So now let's look at the question and the answer that K gives. Question: just as in former years, many people tried to make you out a theosophist, if rather an erring one, now there exists the opinion that you are something like an ultra idealistic and glorified communist. This opinion has been broadly hinted at in print, and it would be good to clear up the point. The idea expressed is that you are the ideal spiritual communist of a communism that perhaps will never exist in the material world, but rather of the higher plane kind of communism that will always be the aspiration of its true leaders. What have you to say to that? But please be very plain and clear. Krishnamurti, I don't think I am a communist or a fascist. I approach the whole thing quite differently. The problem of possession and non possession and all the complications in the world will have their right significance when men approach them rightly, not by choosing or by emphasizing whether you must possess or not possess. That is of very little importance. If man is complete in himself, these things will have very little value. So, so far, what K says can be summarized as follows. K dismisses attempts to categorize him as a communist or fascist, emphasizing that such labels miss the essence of the matter. For him, the debate over possession and non possession is secondary. What truly matters is whether a human being is inwardly complete. If one is whole in oneself, then possessions, systems, and external complications naturally fall into their right place without becoming central to life. So the key points are: K rejects being labeled as communist, fascist, or belonging to any ideology. Next point. The real issue isn't possession versus non possession, but the psychological state of man. Next point. When one is inwardly whole and complete, and our prior podcasts, both here at Oman and the talks in Alpino by K, throw a lot of light into completeness of man, completeness of action, the barriers and hindrances which make action incomplete. We have thrown a lot of light into these prior podcasts. So do look into those. So the key point here is when one is inwardly whole and complete, external systems or possessions lose their importance. Next point. True resolution comes not through ideology but through inner completeness. So basically, K is talking about wholeness beyond possession or why ideologies don't matter. Now let's look into the next part of K's answer. Krishnamurti. If man is complete in himself, self sufficient, then all these problems will have minor importance and therefore will be solved. My whole attitude is to show to the individual, to each of you, how to be complete for yourselves, and then these problems will be solved without your even discussing them. I feel because we are incomplete, because there is no real spiritual existence, real completeness, then you look to all these things to give you strength, happiness, security, and hence these problems become tremendously increased out of proportion. The more you investigate, the more you will see that this is a false emphasis. It is first necessary to understand. You say bread is necessary to be complete, to live. Don't put bread or completeness first, but approach whole thing rightly. You cannot live by bread alone, nor can you live by spirituality alone. But if you understand the true significance of living, both have their right place. Now, please, I am not giving solace to the bourgeois, nor encouraging the people who have given up their possessions. Possessions, accumulations, the question of inheriting, all these things will have lost their savor if in yourself you are complete. And that is far more difficult. That needs far greater vitality, greater discernment than the struggle for possessions which are easy to acquire. So, what cases here can be summarized as the following key highlights. If one is inwardly complete and self sufficient, external problems naturally lose their dominance and are resolved. The root issue is human incompleteness and the lack of true spiritual existence. Next point. People seek possessions, security, and ideologies as substitutes for inner wholeness, which only magnifies problems. Next point, bread or material needs and spirituality both have their place, but neither should be pursued in isolation. Next point, true living requires understanding life as a whole, not clinging to either materialism or spiritual escape. Next point, possessions lose their importance when one is inwardly complete, and achieving such completeness requires greater vitality and discernment than merely acquiring things. So, the summary of this part of the answer, which is the middle part of a long answer, is K emphasizes that when a person is inwardly whole, external issues like possessions and social systems lose their exaggerated importance and find their natural place. Problems grow overwhelming only because people feel incomplete and seek fulfillment in material goods, ideologies, or spiritual consolations. Bread and spirituality both matter, but neither alone brings completeness. The real challenge is to understand life as a whole, a task requiring far more energy and insight than the pursuit of possessions. So now let's look at the final part of the answer to the question given by K. Krishnamurti. As I say, I don't belong to the Communist Party, nor do I belong to the Fascist Party. I am a human being, and I say that is far more important than to what party I belong. If one is a complete human being, one is divine, and then no party, no system is of value. One is like the wind that is pliable and fits in with all things. In oneself, one is complete. So the answer ends here. And for this part of the answer, the key points are: point number one, Krishnamurti rejects identification with political parties or systems. Point number two, his identity is rooted in being a human being, not in labels or ideologies. Number three, true completeness makes one divine, beyond the need for parties or systems. Number four, a complete person is flexible like the wind, moving freely and harmoniously with life. So, in the prior podcast, we have talked about this harmonious way of living. When the mind and heart engages with action, the action becomes complete and is without like barriers like security, authority, fear, prejudice, postponement, etc. So this final part of the answer can be summarized as follows. K makes clear that he does not belong to communism, fascism, or any political group. What matters, he insists, is being a complete human being. Such completeness is itself divine and renders external systems irrelevant. Like the wind, one who is whole is flexible, and harmonious, fitting naturally into life without constraint. So, for if we take the entire answer that K has given us, they can be summarized into or distilled into the following key points. And it will be good if you listen with attention. Point number one, Krishnamurti rejects all labels. He is neither communist nor fascist nor aligned with any ideology. Point number two, the real issue is not possessions versus non possession, but whether a human being is inwardly whole. Point number three, incompleteness drives people to seek fulfillment in possessions, security, or spiritual consolations, which only magnify problems. Point number four, bread or material needs and spirituality both have their place, but life must be approached as a whole, not reduced to one or the other. Point number five, when one is inwardly complete, possessions and systems naturally lose their false importance. Point number six, completeness requires greater vitality, insight, and discernment than merely struggling for material or psychological satisfaction. For material things or for psychological satisfaction, for an edge over others, for example, for domination in a dialogue group, for example, which people unfortunately do in a K dialogue that I attend. And what the learning is in these dialogues is how to be patient and how to be compassionate. So, coming back to the points, the next and final point, the seventh point, a truly complete human being is divine, beyond the need for parties or systems, and lives freely and flexibly like the wind. So, let's go for a full summary of the answer and let's listen in with attention. Krishnamurti firmly rejects being defined by political or ideological labels, insisting that the deeper issue is not communism, fascism, or possessions, but whether a human being is inwardly whole. Our sense of incompleteness leads us to cling to material goods, ideologies, or spirituality as substitutes for true fulfillment, which only deepens our problems. Both bread and spirituality matter, but neither alone can bring completeness. Life must be understood in its wholeness. When we are inwardly complete, possessions, systems, and labels naturally lose their exaggerated importance. Such incompleteness, or rather completeness, requires vitality and insight. Such completeness, requiring vitality and insight, makes us free, divine, and flexible like the wind, fitting harmoniously into life without belonging to any party or system. So, to conclude, in this episode, K answers, or rather, that was K or Jiddu Krishnamurti on why wholeness matters more than politics or possessions. His reminder is simple but profound. When we are complete within ourselves, labels, systems, and struggles lose their false importance. Thanks for listening. And some of these podcasts are described further with reflection and excerpts from these long answers that we read out here in written form at two places. One is Sam Yogi, SAM as in Mary, YOGI, samyogi dot substack.com. SUB as in boy, STACK.com. samyogi dot substack.com. The other place is where the blogs are more regular on the podcast, samyogi dot or Samrock Cafe. Samrock Cafe is also my YouTube channel. SAMROCKCAFE, Samrock Cafe dot wordpress.com. WordPress.com is a lovely site, old site for blogging. WORDPRESS. And the subdomain is Samrock Cafe. So on the browser, internet browser, if you type Samrock Cafe, SAMROCKCAFE, one word. Just like Hard Rock Cafe, but one word. Instead of hard, it is Sam. SAMROCKCAFE dot wordpress.com. You will find these blogs where for a day I summarize the K podcast, which I do in English, and then also a Hindi podcast which I summarize in English, and that is on a philosophy from India called Vedanta, which is the end of Vedas or the culmination or the crystallized knowledge of Vedas. And that is based on the writings of my Vedanta preceptor, Swami Niranjan. So if you are interested in Vedanta, you can listen or read the whole blog. Otherwise, you can read the first part of the blog, which is on K, and the summary, skip to the summary and read the summary of the blog. So I hope you will go to the blog and check it out. I hope if you enjoyed the episode, you will follow the podcast for future episodes, which are daily, and you will share it with others who might appreciate K's insights. Until next time, stay curious and stay whole. Thank you. You have a nice day.